There's a lot that goes into writing a winning cover letter, coupled with your CV, which we addressed in the last video. Ultimately, these two will come together to determine whether or not you're going to make it to interview. So in this video, I'm going to compare an unsuccessful cover letter with a successful cover letter to pull out the ingredients to your success. Guys, it's nice to have you back on the channel. If you're new here, my name's Taz and I'm a future trial lawyer based in the UK. Before we begin, I just want to say there are a bunch of free resources on my website at tazaldeep.com, which include a template cover letter and CV. Also, I've included the timestamps below for this video, but to make it easy for you guys, I'm just going to put them up here to give you the gist for today's video. Talking about CVs and cover letters, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. It makes my job difficult to try and jazz this up, so I'm going to do my best. Just bear with me. What I want to say is that the CV and the cover letter will go hand in hand ultimately to determine whether your application is shortlisted for interview.
This video is sponsored by Lexstery, the first free online community for aspiring lawyers pursuing a legal career in England and Wales. Inside the community, you will gain access to our courses, legal career consulting programs, forum, free resources, and live events, which we run every month, covering a range of topics, including legal applications, legal interviews, advocacy events, and we host guest speakers from across the legal profession who share their tips and tricks on how to secure a training contract and pupilage. You can sign up for free at lexstery.com and we look forward to welcoming you inside our legal community.
And there's detail and technique that go into separating you from the pack. This isn't just going to be a generic how to make a cover letter video. This is going to be talking about the detail and the technique which you need to know to give yourself the best chance of making it happen. Let's kick things off with general principles. And principle number one is that your cover letter should really be one page unless you're told otherwise. Number two is that you need to research the law firm or the chambers that you're applying to thoroughly. And you need to demonstrate that you know what their practice areas are, specifically what they specialize in, what their awards are, and just some information on their recent cases that they've been involved in. Doesn't always have to be cases. It could be something as small as an event that they've recently championed or an organization that they've partnered with. Some little bit of detail which demonstrates to them that you know about them specifically. Number three is tailor your cover letter to the role that you're applying for and specifically the organization. It's super obvious when you're applying the scattergun approach where you're just sending out 20 cover letters and you've literally chopped and diced the name of the organization. Number four is don't fact dump. This isn't an essay on the organization or a dissertation on them. This is your job to be very selective with what you're including in a one-page sales pitch as to why they should invite you to interview. The next point, which naturally flows on, is that when you're including description of the organization, ask yourself what purpose is it serving? And when you're thinking about what purpose is it serving, you're always thinking within the matrix of PEE, point, evidence, explain. What's the point I'm trying to make? What's the evidence for that point? And why is it relevant? i.e., explain why it's relevant. So the example would be, I've developed strong communication skills. That's the point you're trying to make. You would evidence it by saying, I obtained these from volunteering for the street law project. And then you'd explain why it's relevant. Well, these communication skills are relevant when communicating with clients as a solicitor or barrister. Final two things to say, only include your very best, the gold standard approach. It should be hitting a very high threshold for you to include it in the cover letter. And finally, make sure, guys, please, you spell check that thing, you grammar check it. You can't be having mistakes in there, otherwise it just goes straight in the bin. I thought we'd start off with a really good template letter from BPP University regarding the outline or the structure of a cover letter. Now, I break it down into three sections. I've highlighted these sections here for you guys to see, and I'm going to go through those sections in detail. I just want to outline what the sections are. And the first is the start, or what I call the formalities, which is this top highlighted section. Essentially, it's all the formal kind of details you need to include. The second section, what I call the substance, is broken down into 4 paragraphs. Essentially, this is your cover letter. And then you've got the final section, which is the sign off or the end. And this is basically you essentially bringing the cover letter to a close. So let's start by going through the start or the formalities. And essentially, guys, here at the top right, you can see it's your full name, below which is your address. And then on the left-hand side, you'll have the employer's full name, their job title, the address. Below that, the date. I normally put the date on the right-hand side, and then you address the letter to who it's going to. This will vary. Sometimes it will be Dear Mr. Knight, or sometimes it might be Dear Secretary of the Pupilage Committee. It will vary, but whatever it is, it will correlate to the top of the address part here. And then below that, they've included application for pupilage or training contract, September 2022. Now, in terms of this section, I would probably go as far as saying that it's not necessary for two reasons. Firstly, it's already essentially outlined in the email that you're going to send to the organization, which is going to include this document. It's going to say that in the subject of the email. But then the other thing is, I'd probably say it's trying to be one of the gang when you're not yet. And what I mean by that is it's trying to speak or write like a lawyer, because this is something you'd expect to see in a document that's probably sent to the other side regarding some type of real estate or legal dispute or whatever it may be. But the reality is, guys, we, as in the position of sending off this cover letter, are very likely to be unemployed, broke, and looking for a job. So let's not pretend that we're one of the gang. Moving on to the middle section, or the substance, as I've said, this is 4 paragraphs. I'm going to touch on these briefly. The first is what I call the elevator pitch. Essentially here you are qualifying yourself. You are explaining to them who you are, why they should care, and why you're applying, what it is that you're applying for, basically. We then move on to the second paragraph, which I call why them. They've put here why you have chosen this organization to work for. And in here, what you're doing is you're showing them the relevant research that you've done on them as an organization. You know who they are, what they do, and why that interests you, and why that has driven you to apply to them specifically. The third paragraph is what they've put here, your career summary and what you have to offer, or what I call the why you section of the cover letter. And this is where you are drawing out the best of the best of your experience and your skills, and you are wrapping them up into a persuasive piece of advocacy which says, this is who I am, this is what I can bring to the table, and this is why you should give me the opportunity. And then finally, we move on to the last section, the sign off, which is yours sincerely if you know them, or alternatively, yours faithfully if they're the secretary of the pupilage committee. Here they've put a signature. I wouldn't include this because, again, it eats up unnecessary real estate and you can just have your name typed out. Yes, it's not orthodox or traditional, but it's tactical. So we're going to look at the law student's cover letter here. Like I did with the CV, I've taken all the personal information out of it. And what I want to explain from the outset is how this is going to work. And what I'm going to do is, rather than last time where I went through a PDF document with you and just highlighted things, I have track change this document. So I think the best way to show it to you is that I'm going to show you it firstly as the original, which is this. This is the original cover letter that I was sent. Then we're going to go through my track changes with all the notes that I've made. And then I'm going to show you the final document without any changes on it. And then after we've done this one, we're going to move on to the law graduate's cover letter. Spoiler alert, again, it's my cover letter. But the reason I'm showing you my stuff, guys, is because I think it's really beneficial to actually see the stark contrast between an entering law student and then, 5, 6, 7 years in the game later, what changes, and put these side by side. I think it's a really good tool for you guys to have, or if you're just going into law school, to appreciate the common mistakes that people, and myself included, make when we're drafting these type of documents. So this is the original cover letter. Okay, so they've got their name and address here. They've got the date below that, the employer here to the left. Below that, they've addressed it to dear whoever may be concerned. Then they've put for a mini pupilage. And I'm not going to bore you guys by going through all of this. As you can see, if you want to read it, you can pause the video, and I'm scrolling through it really slowly so that you can read it in your own time. But what we're going to do now is we're going to go through this document together, and we are going to pull out my comments and the things that popped up for me when I was going through it. So let's go through all the markups. starting at the very top, you can see the first thing I've done is I've removed all these commas from after their name and address. Then I've removed their email. It's unnecessary. It's in the email that the organization have received. They know your email. They don't need your number. And if we can see here, the date, they've put Wednesday the 13th of August 2017. That's not how we do it. It's just 1/3 August 2017, or if you want 13th with a TH, August 2017, and that's preference. Then again, I've removed all the commas from the employer's side, and we look at who they've addressed it to. So as I've said, they've addressed it to whoever may be concerned, but we don't do that. We address it to who's put at the top of the employer's address, which in this case is the secretary of the pupilage committee. And as I've said, we get rid of this resection. With the formalities having been reviewed, let's just look at, because it becomes apparent now, at the actual layout or the formatting that they've used. If you can see, I'm going to show you guys, look at this cover letter. Look at how the lines are very uneven. They have forgotten to justify the text. And what I mean by justify, you're going to see it now. If we go to home and we see there are these 4 boxes. This aligns the text to the left, this does the center, this does the right, and this is what we call justifying the text. So you're going to see the lines become very neat, straight, and tidy like that. That's the first thing to note. I'm going to go out on a limb in this video. I'm going to be like this with all my videos. I'm just giving you the real, guys. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm not here to be anything nasty or overcritical. I'm here to give you the reality of what the people who are reading these documents are thinking. And I'll just come out and say it because I'm here for you, and I don't want you to draft stuff that you've put so much time and energy into, which might just end up in the bin. So we can see here from the very first paragraph, okay? I'm going to read it out. They say, "My name is John, and being an aspiring barrister primarily interested in criminal practice but commercial law, I'm writing to you to ask that you consider my application for a mini pupilage with Lincoln Court Chambers. Let's dissect this." The start says, "My name is John." Well, they know your name. Come on. It's at the top right of the letter. It's in the email. We don't need to do that. Come on. The next thing we've got here is we've got the barrister, capital B. This is a grammar mistake. Before they've read another line, guys, this has gone in the bin. Sounds cruel, but it's true. They've then said that they're interested in criminal practice but commercial law. Which is it? Are you in crime? Are you in commercial? Or do you just want a bit of everything? There's nothing wrong with saying that you haven't made your mind up yet and you're looking to explore areas, but they're primarily interested in criminal practice, but they want you to know it's also commercial. So they're keeping 2 very different doors open. And then here we have mini pupilage. Again, this is capitalized. And for the first paragraph, there's already, as we can see, a plethora of problems which we need to be removing. It's evident from looking at this cover letter that the author hasn't stuck to the structure just by looking at an overview of the elevator pitch, why them, why you ending. Instead, this is a cover letter. If we see this paragraph, why them, why them, why them, and lastly, why them as well. And guys, we want to stick to a structure because a reader will be getting hundreds, if not thousands, of these cover letters, and all of them, even if it's not the exact structure I outlined from the beginning, they'll have a structure to them. Okay, let's have a look at this next paragraph, which says, "Having always believed my future career should be one that constantly challenges me to learn, develop, and expand my knowledge within a depth of subjects, I have found a career within the legal sector to be perfectly fitting." Pause. And now let's analyze. Well, guys, that's extremely generic. You can find challenge in any other sector that you'd like. You can find challenge at Tesco if you want, and that's no slight on Tesco. It's just making the point. Every career, every job has its challenges. To say something as generic as that as evidence as to why the legal career is fitting, you've missed the mark. They end by saying, "Having sacrificed my long-term career as a company director to practice law evidences this commitment." Does it? Again, another very weak piece of evidence to support a point that they're trying to make. I'm going to try my best not to read everything out verbatim. I'm reading certain paragraphs out which I think are relevant to read out. If we move on to this next paragraph, they say, "I am drawn to criminal law and family law now." This cover letter feels all over the place. Criminal, commercial, now a bit of family. I don't know. They're saying they're interested in these things, but they're just very all over the show. Let's move on to this next paragraph. They've capitalized bar. Bar, just the B in bar is capitalized. I thought it's a point worth mentioning because as an aspiring barrister, you will be using that phrase quite a bit. Here they say, working closely with different barristers as a criminal defense solicitor's legal clerk, I have found the bar to be my opportune career path. And the sentence goes on to make a different point, but I would ask the author as the reader, why? Why is this your opportune career? They're making a point without any explanation, so it's important to qualify the things that we say. We can see that they've used BPTC as an abbreviation without any reference. We want to avoid that. Let's analyze the penultimate paragraph together. We're going to analyze it sentence by sentence. The first sentence reads, having recently moved to Manchester, a mini pupilage with Lincoln Court Chambers would represent the perfect opportunity to make new legal contacts and familiarise myself with the local legal sector. This is a one-way relationship in this cover letter. It's constantly what I can get from you, not what I can give. Relationships are a two-way street. There's give for take, so keep that in mind whatever you're writing. Next, they say further, with family in Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield and Bakewell, I aspire to work within the Northern Circuit. Now, this is good because they're showing a connection to the area, but the problem is that they've not been specific. They didn't need to include, where is this cover letter addressed to? This cover letter is addressed to Manchester. So just including Manchester was enough to demonstrate the connection. They didn't need to go on and say Liverpool, Sheffield and Bakewell. It's unnecessary words. Nowhere throughout this cover letter have I seen any specific knowledge on Lincoln Court Chambers or really any demonstration of any skills or experience that this candidate has that qualifies them for the mini pupilage. Let's keep that in mind because it is very important. And I want to just address this final line here. They've essentially saying that, therefore, I would like to experience what it is like to work within Lincoln Court Chambers, knowing that I will soon be filling out pupilage applications. I just would not include that. It's basically saying, I want to know what it's like in Chambers just because I'm looking to apply for pupilage. Really, the line, it should be more focused on them. It should be saying, well, I want to understand what your culture is like, what work you have available in Chambers. These types of reasons are a lot more persuasive than just saying, oh, because I'm filling out pupilage applications. Like the ending, thank you for your time considering my application. It's great. That's what we're meant to be doing. Then they go on to say, please feel free to contact me by post, email, number, hit, etc. But they don't actually outline their availability for interview. So I would do that if we can. Final 2 points to make. They sign off kind regards. I would use yours sincerely or yours faithfully. If you look at this letter, it's addressed to the Secretary of the Pupilage Committee, so we'd use yours faithfully. And they've included Mr. before John Doe. Personally, I wouldn't include the Mr. I think it's a bit too formal for a law student looking for a job. But guys, that's your decision to make. As promised, I want to show it you after the markups, and it looks something like this. Feel free to pause the video and just take stock. This is just a brief markup. I haven't gone in on the editing. I've just tried to pull out some of the major mistakes and just give you a feel for what the mistakes are here. I've not redrafted it, keep that in mind. I've just taken the mistakes out. Okay, let's wrap up by looking at my cover letter. First thing you'll notice is that I've put the addresses side by side as a tactical decision to save space. If we look at the law student's cover letter, they've eaten up almost a third of the cover letter with just the addresses. I'd even go as far as saying, personally, this whole addresses business on the letter is so silly. It's just us tipping the hat to tradition. They don't need your address. If they want to get hold of you, they'll email you. It's unnecessary. So if you are one of the brave new pioneers, I would even not include it. As we can see at the top of the employer's address, I found her name on their website for the Chambers. I've then included it here, but I've used her formal title as I don't know if she's married. When in doubt, you just use Ms. We then go to my elevator pitch where I'm basically giving my the university I went to, the degrees I did, the grades that I got, any awards that I've got, and basically said, look, I'm applying here because I'm interested to get this type of experience. This part where I say as advertised on Chambers website, this is just a formality line that you may or may not want to include, but then you'll always end by saying, please find attached my CV in addition to this cover letter for your consideration. Moving on, after we've done the elevator pitch, you'll see the why them paragraph where basically I name the chambers. I say subtly that I'm an aspiring criminal barrister, as I know that they are a criminal set. And then I am dropping an award in here that they're a leading set. It shows due diligence. I've done my homework on them. But now we start actually going into the specifics of what their expertise is in serious fraud and white collar crime, which is of great appeal to me as I'm here because it's a mini pupilage. I say I'm keen to explore these areas. This would be different if it was a pupilage application. You wouldn't be looking to explore, you'd be looking to practice. So you would be making a different type of point, which is that you want to practice in these areas. Having spoken with senior practitioners on the circuit, I understand the profile. I'm basically saying that I've spoken to barristers. I understand the culture at chambers. I tend to say this if I've not had the opportunity to do a mini there. But then again, I am award dropping. I would recommend a max of 3 awards per cover letter. I wouldn't go above that because then now you're over drizzling them. You're sucking up to them too much. Let's draw the line. We want to draw the line very finely between bigging them up and gassing them up and just being in love with them. Because at the end of the day, you're going to go where the job or the placement is offered, and they know that. So let's not overdo it. In this paragraph, I am explaining, most importantly, why I want to work there, not just describing the set. I'm saying you've got awards in these type of areas, you do well in this type of area, you specialize in this. This is what's motivating me to apply to you. So we're linking that description with the motivation. We're not just describing. If we move on, I want to draw your attention to this. Say its esteemed members act in serious and complex cases and are recognized for their excellent submissions and skillful arguments, as seen recently by a successful submission of no case to answer in the Bulmer art heist, which led to the collapse of the case. You won't always be able to pull a case like this. You can go on Chambers or the firm's website and see what cases they've been involved in recently. If you can include the case, include it. A recent case is more preferable. Essentially, though, it is a piece of information about that set, and you are linking that as to a reason why you want to work there. Really, if we're going to critique me, I should have said basically here that I should have linked the wanting to learn excellent submissions and skillful arguments from them, as opposed to just being descriptive as to what's happened in the case. No one's perfect, we all make mistakes, but it's important that we recognize the mistakes. Finally, I basically say that I want to gain high quality advocacy and knowledge from heavyweight champions at the criminal bar. So that's the why them section. So I'm going to just overview the why me section now. And the way I've done this, guys, is I think it's always important in a mini pupilage or a VAC scheme cover letter to explain to the reader why you are going down the legal path. What's your interest in being a solicitor or a barrister, and explain that very clearly. But then I explain, after I've explained why essentially law or the role, I go on to explain why this specific practice area that I'm applying for the experience in. And normally that will come through some type of experience that you've had, some experience, how that's impacted you, why you enjoyed that experience. But then note here that I say I developed an understanding of the challenges facing the criminal bar by discussing them with practitioners, addressing key issues such as the decline of legal aid and the rise of higher court advocates. This shows on the ground practical knowledge of the area and the practice area that I'm looking to go into. So if we can include this type of knowledge, it will really show that you're not just boilerplating a cover letter, that you actually care about the practice area and you've done your homework. Now, this penultimate paragraph is me wrapping up my skills, the relevant experiences, the very best. Remember that threshold we spoke about as to why I'm the right candidate for this opportunity. And just note here, I just want to make this point clear. The previous paragraph is explaining why law, why the role, why the practice area, and any extra information I have on the practice area. Then this penultimate paragraph is the skills, as I've said. But note here that I'm only including, I say, firstly, one skill, secondly, second skill, thirdly, and then it's finally. So the point is to make that I'm only including 4 skills, and they're the most relevant skills for the role, and they're the best skills that I have to evidence my ability or my competency to be a barrister. So let's be very selective here. And one final thing to mention, we want to be using the point evidence explain. You'll know I don't make any point without providing evidence and then explaining why it's relevant. What does it mean? Why does it make me a better candidate for the role? There's always a purpose, guys, as to why you should be including things, and that pretty much wraps up the cover letter. All that's left is the ending. Say, thank you for considering my application. I will be available for interview between the 1st of October and the 20th of December. You can include the year if you've got the space, why not? Yours sincerely, Tazaldeek. And other than that, guys, you know what it is. I'll see you at the next one.